Hello and welcome to the Healthtech Marketing Show. Today's episode is brought to you by my firm, Healthlaunchpad, and also by our partners at HIMSS, to who I'm very grateful to for their support. So thank you to you for listening. If you're watching the video, you can subscribe to the podcast on Apple, Spotify, or whatever your favorite application is. And if you wanted to watch this video, you can actually see it on YouTube through the Healthtech Marketing Show channel. So today's episode, I actually don't have a guest. It's going to be just me, just little old me, talking about a topic that I'm especially passionate about. And that is the whole area of inbound marketing. This is something that I have been doing, I guess, for over 15 years, almost 20 years now. Most of it, frankly, unwittingly. And over the last 5 years or so, I've really been trying to perfect it as a model. And it's been something that has been key to the success of my company, Health Launchpad. We've really grown fast as a company, and inbound marketing is one of the foundations of that growth. It's one of the pillars of that growth. We've refined our own model of inbound marketing, and it's what I call the 4-corner inbound marketing model. So what do I mean by 4 corners? Basically, it means there are kind of 4 different aspects to the way that we do inbound. So the first corner, and is the keystone of what we do, probably the most important part of it, is content. And I'm going to drive into that in a minute. And then the second corner is SEO. We have a very deliberate strategy in that, the way that we use SEO, and I'll explain how we do that. The third is social. So if you're a follower, if you're connected to me on LinkedIn, you'll be aware that I do a lot on LinkedIn, and I'll explain why that is and how we do it. And then the last is about partnerships and referrals. And this is really an important part of how we extend the reach of what we do. And what we're really trying to do is establish authority in our market, which is health tech marketing. The second is create a steady demand stream, so inbound leads, and also sort of, building awareness so that if people aren't ready to become a lead right now, they will reach out when they're good and ready. And I can explain it, give you kind of a few examples of that. And then the third aspect to it is about amplification. So we use both social and our partnerships to amplify the message. So I'm going to kind of drill down on those 4 corners. So let me start with content. I am a passionate writer and blogger. I wouldn't say I'm necessarily a great writer, but I've worked pretty hard at it. I started my first blog back in 2006, and it was a blog dedicated to a long-standing passion of mine, which is sailing. And I started this blog called messingaboutinsailboats.com back in 2006. It's still around. I don't really update it very often. And over the course of a few years, it became one of the leading blogs, or actually, frankly, destinations online for all things related to sailing. And that was a combination of really sticking at it and then getting lucky with SEO. So I didn't really have an intentional SEO strategy, but I managed to dominate certain keywords, sort of by accident more than anything, that drove a lot of traffic. And at one point, that website was getting over 15,000 unique visits a month, which is, given sailing's it was a bit of a niche I was quite proud of. It doesn't do that anymore, for what it's worth. But so when we launched Health Launchpad, I wanted to try and replicate that. And so I really dedicated myself to delivering content that I felt would be of value to the audience that we're trying to reach. And that the people that we're trying to reach are, probably like yourself, a health tech marketing person. And we've had an overarching goal, which is to establish authority. But there are 3 objectives within that goal. So firstly, I want people to, well, at least earn the right for people to feel that we are, regarded as experts in health tech marketing. And so that's the first objective. The second objective is to be seen for expertise in ABM, which, we believe and we're told by clients is something that we're pretty uniquely qualified for in the health tech marketing space. And actually, even outside of health tech marketing, we get some recognition for a lot of the thought leadership that we've done around ABM. And then the third thing is that we want health tech marketing people to see us as a source of ideas and insights. So, if you got a question, you're struggling with something, maybe you'll come to our website to look for some answers because, chances are we've probably written a blog post on it. And look, in practice, what this looks like is I do a blog post at least once a week. And actually, it's not just me. We have 2 or 3 other authors who contribute to the website and contribute to the blog. And that blog is basically presented on the website as the Health Tech Marketing Learning Center. And there are blogs about ABM, about marketing to healthcare, about selling to healthcare, content, digital marketing, etc. All of the sort of things that we believe that health tech marketing people are looking for. The flagship of all this is actually this show. So I actually started my first podcast in about 2020. And initially, it was kind of more geared towards what was happening in digital health. And then I morphed that into a monthly podcast about health tech marketing. Last year, we decided to go all in on this. And so we rebranded this the Healthtech Marketing Show. And we're committed to publishing episodes like this, episodes with interviews with health tech marketers, with experts who we believe can bring things that are useful to our audience. And we do that weekly. What we then do with that is that we publish the podcast. Obviously, it's on podcast channels. We publish it as a video. But the thing that we've become quite facile at is using AI to speed up our ability to translate this content that we create, this podcast, into written posts. So what I'll basically do after every single one of these episodes is I'll take the transcript, I'll take the video rather, I'll drop it into Descript to create a transcript. I'll then take that transcript and then I have a series of prompts to translate the transcript into a draft blog post. And I do this using Claude AI, and I've trained it by using it multiple times, by telling it what I like, what I don't like. And through that process, we're actually producing, I think, some pretty solid content that turns an interview, it could be a couple of people, into a very structured informational post written as a how-to. And, obviously we don't just take what comes out of Claude and slap it online. We do edit it carefully and make sure that we're proud of what we're publishing. And that's a weekly cycle. And it actually is, I've got to kind of get it down to, I can do that in less than an hour these days. So that's content. That's the cornerstone and corner number one. So corner number two is SEO. I love SEO. I think that if you get it right, it gives you an unfair advantage. And the reason is that it means that people who've never heard of your business or your brand will end up on your website. And having seen that work really well with my sailing website, I figured I really wanted to do that in building Health Launchpad. So early on in our journey, so this was around 2020, I actually engaged somebody called Karen Finn. And Karen Finn actually is now part of our organization, part of our collective. And she is a fantastic SEO person, one of the best I've ever worked with. And she's got a really methodical approach to developing SEO strategy. And so over the course of a month, we worked really hard together to figure out what were the key things, the key pillars of our strategy. So things like ABM, things like marketing to healthcare. And what would therefore be the keywords that we would want to try and dominate, and which ones would be feasible for us to actually develop some authority around. So we went through a very systematic approach, came up with a list of keywords, and then we used those keywords to develop a 12-month content calendar with a blog post every week. And I'm basically stuck at that for the last 3.5 years. And so Karen and I will have an optimization meeting at least once a month. She produces a report so we can discuss, what's working, what needs improvement, what needs optimizing. And every 6 months or so, we will sort of relook at the keywords and see which ones, how do we need to change things around. And I can tell you, it has worked. It has surpassed my expectations. Over the first 18 months, our traffic went up by a factor of 10. And nearly all of that was driven by this SEO strategy. And even now, traffic continues to grow. It's not going at 10x, but it's growing steadily. And I can tell you that 60 to 70% of the traffic to our website comes from non-branded keywords. So that means that I would say every month, 60 to 70% of the people who come to our website have not heard of us before they arrive at our website. And that is translating it into business. I know that. I would say overall, it's probably contributed to half the company's growth. The third corner, is social media. I'm just a massive believer in the power of social media. I really only focus on LinkedIn from a professional standpoint. I don't think that Facebook is the kind of right medium for building authority around a professional area like health tech marketing. And I've never really been a big fan of Twitter or X, as it's called today. So I don't really spend much time on that. So I just, I've gone all in on LinkedIn and set out to use it to amplify our message and to get our brand and what we're creating in front of as many people as possible. And so I've got a very systematic way of doing that. I send out LinkedIn invites to a very targeted list every day. I post on LinkedIn every day. I've got a calendar that goes out for several months with a sort of a cadence of different types of content and messages. And I post an article, which is basically the blog post repurposed as a LinkedIn article. And I post that every Tuesday. And periodically, I will then go and analyze the posts and figure out what works and what doesn't work, and sort of optimize that calendar. And it really works. I mean, for example, late last year, we actually won a very significant piece of business. And I asked the CEO, who reached out to me, I said, well, how did you find out about this? And he said, look, I think I was about a year ago, I was interested in the whole area of ABM. And so I Googled ABM and healthcare, and, we came up. And so he started reading some of our stuff. And then he, in the process, followed me on LinkedIn. And he said, through following me on LinkedIn and also subscribing to my email newsletter, he stayed on top of what we're doing. And when the time was right, which was about a year after he'd first interacted with us, he then reached out proactively and became a client. And the whole process was, the first conversation with him, we felt like we knew each other. I mean, it certainly felt like he knew me. And he was really predisposed to working with us. I didn't think he was, I think he was talking to some other companies, but I think it was pretty clear that he was keen to work with us from the get-go. The other thing I do from a social network perspective is actually we're in the process of creating our own social network. And it's called the Healthtech Marketing Network. And it's a private network for senior healthcare IT, marketing, and sales leaders. And what we've done is basically over the course of the last 2 years is built this network, has sort of built organically. Started as a discussion after a webinar with a panel of Healthtech marketing folks. And then, we then had a monthly get together and invited more people to it. And it sort of expanded as a result of it. Kind of kept it below the radar screen. And we've now launching that as a new network called the Healthtech Marketing Network. And you can find more out about that on our website, healthlaunchpad.com. And I view that as sort of kind of a service that we're providing to our audience and to the industry. And for us, it's just it provides amazing amounts of insights. And of course, it helps to build relationships. And, we don't know where it's going to go, but we're pretty excited about that. So the fourth corner is partners and referrals. And what this is all about is, by building relationships with other organizations or other kind of key influencers, we're extending the reach of our message. And we've worked with several partners over the last few years. Our anchor partner is HIMSS. And I was lucky enough to be introduced to some of the key executives at HIMSS pretty early on I think it's late 2020. And we were talking about, how Healthtech marketing people were really kind of starved for good educational information. And HIMSS felt that shared the same belief that I did, which is that we should go out and make it for them. And so we started with a webinar series on ABM, which was very successful. I think there were 22,000, 2,500 registrants, and I think about close to 1,000 people actually watched the webinars over the course of the series, and the feedback was very positive. They then sponsored this podcast. We've done other webinars together, and we do a lot of things together. But there are also other partners that we work with. So, for example, we've done some stuff with Bombora in the past, and then Propensity is one of our other partners, and we try to work together. I kind of go into it on the basis that, in a partnership, you should expect to give more than you're going to get. If you go in with that kind of attitude, then it'll work well for you. In my past business, when I ran a software company, I remember doing a partnership with one of the major telcos, and found actually after sort of 6 months of negotiation with them that really what the partnership was is I bought their data and resold it, and they guaranteed nothing in return. And to me, it's like, that's not a partnership. That's just, it's exploiting us. I thought about it. I kind of thought. So, but I think that if you go into the spirit of you give to get, and you're going to give more than you get, then you won't be disappointed. Referrals is also a key part of this. And we have several people who are, we have several people who we have a formal referral arrangement. And then we have a network of either sort of business acquaintances or, people who just like what we're doing, who will refer business to us. And it's been a very important source of business. So let me just wrap up on this. And the way, what I want to leave you with is the impact of it, because it is an incredible amount of work. I probably spend at least a third of my time on marketing, and most of this is doing the type of things that we just talked about, I just reviewed. But it works because our business has grown by leaps and bounds. I think we grew 70% last year and 50% the year before, and even more the year before that. And so it really is working. And I've analyzed the source of business. And what I found is that 50% of new clients were strangers to us when they booked a meeting. And so they came in through inbound. I've no doubt about it. And in some cases, that is a combination of, maybe they attended a webinar and then they followed us. Or maybe it was that they Googled something, then they followed us. But in combination, all of that has worked really well together. The other 50% has come through referrals. And I know for a fact that, even that the work that we're doing in creating content and propagating it in social media helps to keep us top of mind with these referral partners. So it increases the likelihood that they're going to refer more business. So I really do think that done well, this 4-corner strategy will result in accelerating your growth. It's not immediate. It takes a lot of work, but if you stick at it, it creates a sustainable inbound revenue engine. So that's my story for today. I will wrap up. I thank you for listening. If you want to learn more about this, I'll put some links to some information about how we do this and a little bit more detail about this 4-corner inbound marketing model in the show notes. And you can also book an appointment with me if you want to talk about it through our website at healthlaunchpad.com. And again, please subscribe to this podcast on Spotify, on Apple, whatever your favorite podcast app is, or watch the video. And so I want to thank you for listening today. And just one last thing, if you've got any suggestions on episodes, you can email me at adam@healthlaunchpad.com. Thank you and goodbye.